Today we're going to talk about, is there a possibility that Nissan might have a battery gate of their own with the new Nissan Leaf? Also, I want to go over my thoughts of that Tesla event with the truck event Elon Musk held a few days ago. Let's do it. Before I get started with that, I have something I want to talk about a little bit, and bear with me because I will be getting to a point eventually. I'm in Ikebukuro right now, and boy is it packed. It's hard to find a private space to have a conversation without people staring at me, which is happening right now. There's just no spot private to talk. I came to Japan 20 years ago, 1997, February, and I lived over in Meijiro, which is right next to Ikebukuro. It's right across the train tracks from Ikebukuro, and I had to stay in it was a dump, and it still is. And I come here when things are rough in my life, and just to remind me of my roots kind of over here in this country. The place I stayed in was ridiculously expensive because even though that place was a dump, it is situated in a Meijiro. And Meijiro is a high-end living area, lots of wealthy people, and it's right next to Waseda University, well, really close to Waseda University. And so, yeah, it was the rent was high. I paid $550 a month for a shared room. The room was only 4.5 tatami size, which would be like maybe a 6x5. It was a very small room, and $550 a month. And I saved money up to come here and do that, to live there. But between the housing and the transportation to look for work, I ran out of money pretty quick. I was running low on money pretty quick. There was days where I went like 2 or 3 days at a time sometimes with maybe only one meal, and it was rough, very rough. It was rough finding work. I didn't have a work visa yet. You have to find the work to get the work visa, and I had no support from my family in America except for my father. I'll get back to him in a second. Anyways, before I came over, I tried once before in 1996. Stayed at my girlfriend's house. Well, actually, she's my wife now, but at that time, my girlfriend's house for almost 3 months, looking for work in Tokyo. Unfortunately, she lives so far away, and at that time, I wasn't aware how things worked over here. But she lived far enough away that for foreigners, there was no company that would hire me. If you're Japanese, no problem. They'll pay your transportation. Foreigners, not so lucky. So I was just too far away for any company to hire me and pay for my transportation. So I went back home, worked back home. I worked at Circuit City for about a year, almost a year, saving my money up, getting ready to come back and try again in Tokyo area. People gave me a bad time back then. I worked at Radio Shack in Circuit City and did sales and stuff. But I really enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed electronics and technology and gadgets and stuff. So it was like a dream come true to be able to work in that kind of situation and deal with people and do sales and stuff. I wasn't the best salesperson probably because of my Asperger's, but I did have an enthusiasm for the product I was selling. I liked it, and that helped. So I saved my money up, came back over here in '97, went right to that house without a door. Never had a door, not a functioning door, and stayed in that rat and cockroach infested dump for about 3 months looking for work. I found work kind of quickly because now I'm in Tokyo, but they had a program where they would call you on probation. And one thing you maybe not aware of about Japan is you don't get paid weekly or bi-weekly, you get paid monthly over here. And if you're on probation, means at the end of probation, they'll give you your salary. So it could be a 2 or 3 month probation. And unfortunately, the first place I found was a 3 month probation. I had to go 3 months without salary of any sort, and even had to pay my own transportation. They had me going all over the place, to Saitama, to Yokohama, all over with my own money to work at different schools and teach English. And it was hell. And the guy on purpose rides you really hard. He wants you to quit so he doesn't have to pay you. And sure enough, it worked. About 2.5 months. I didn't hang on. 2 weeks to go, and I would have gotten past my probation, but he was just all over me and other staff. He was a number. He was a number. Big, fat American jerkweed. And I gave up. I was like, I can't deal with it anymore. And luckily, I found another job pretty quickly again, and that was a lot better. And that got me back more stable income, and I was able to move out of that place and move into Urayasu area, which is still close enough to Tokyo to get jobs. And so I stayed in Urayasu for quite a while. Anyways, I got no support from my family. When I went back home, they all said, yeah, we knew you'd be back. Thanks a lot for the encouragement. And when I told them I was planning on going back and trying again, they tried to talk me out of it. My own family and friends, I just didn't have any support. They all thought I was going to fail. I didn't have the ability to do what they thought with my personality and things like that. At that time, we didn't know what I wasn't diagnosed yet with what I got. So they just, but my father, he was always there for me. As a matter of fact, when I came over in '97, shortly after I got here, he flew over and stayed with me for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks at that dumpy hotel, just to give me more encouragement and help me out. And not financially, morally. He was a lot of moral support. And then when I got back to Urayasu, he came over and stayed with me for 3 months in my apartment in Urayasu. Much nicer place he was able to stay at. He stayed there for 3 months with me, and it was a really great time in my life. And that was the last time. That was back in '98. That was the last time I saw my father in person ever again, until 2003. I went to America in the wintertime with my son when he was just 2, I think. And we were able to drive over to a meeting point where the weather was pretty good, and visit my father for about an hour and a half. And then we had to say goodbye. That was the last time I ever saw him in person, really. I mean, for like a long time, it was Urayasu, but for an hour and a half, I saw him once in person for an hour and a half back in 2003. Well, my father's terminally ill now. He's in the VA hospital in Portland. And it's actually not a hospital, it's a hospice. No treatment available for him. And he's happy. He's thrilled about it. He's excited about passing away because he's going to a better place. And honestly, can't argue with that logic, And so I'm just being a little selfish because I don't want him to go. I'll be lonely. He's always been my only support. My only moral support I've ever had was through my father and my wife now. But as far as family goes, my family, he was my only supporter ever. Every time I talk to my mother, when are you going to come back to America and get serious with your life? When are you going to get serious? When are you going to come back and get to work on your life over here. And I kept trying to explain to her, my life is here now. I've got a life going, and it's a good life, and I want to stay here. But she didn't understand that. She still doesn't understand that to this day. Neither does my sister, but my father's always has. And so I've always had his support, and now I'm going to lose that eventually. And I'm sad. That's why I'm going to America. I'm going to be able to visit him one more time, hopefully. Hopefully, I'll make it in time to visit him. And he's excited about me coming. And, so I have a lot to owe to my father for my success in my life. And I have a lot to owe to God for my success in my life. God is good. God has been there for me. Even though I'm a mess up and I make mistakes and I do things that are wrong. I wrong people sometimes. God's there for me, and he's protected me and kept me safe. And a great example is we were in a heck of a lot of trouble for these past 2 years. I think I mentioned it slightly to you guys. Heck of a lot of trouble, and it was a financial problem, and I needed to come up with a lot of money, and I needed to do it like I had to pay something back in 2 years' time. Lo and behold, all of a sudden my school took off. And for those 2 years I had to pay the payments, these gigantic monthly payments. I had the kids, I had the students. As soon as that was done, as soon as I had that debt paid off, my students started trickling down again. I mean, almost to the same month. God was looking out for me. God doesn't want me to live too good, obviously, but I'm living good enough. I'm living quite good, if you ask me. I don't want to be rich. I like my life the way it is, and so yeah, even though I'm a sinner, God's looked out for me, and I appreciate that, and my father's looked out for me morally and sometimes financially a long time ago, when I was younger, especially when I told you when I first came here, I ran out of money pretty quick. He was the one that was able to help me out for a couple months. Yeah, so I've got that on my plate. I got the fact that I am losing students. I'm a little nervous about next year. I know I'll be fine most likely because I've been here for 20 years and I've always been able to pay the bills. So yeah, I think I'll be fine with that. But it's just a lot of things on my plate. So I come here to remind myself where I came from, what it was really like, and where I am now, and how thankful I should be. And how grateful I should be, even in low times, how blessed my life is. And it also reminds me of something else. This is where I'm going to finally get to the point about some stuff going on in the news lately. Elon Musk just recently did a big keynote, or what do you want to call it? He debuted his semi-trucks, and I love those are really cool. And then he came out with that Roadster, and that blew me away. That Roadster's gorgeous. He actually made the original Roadster look like a piece of garbage. That's how nice that new Roadster is. It's gorgeous. And I think he's doing that because his stock. He does this. He tends to do this when his company's kind of hurting. He likes to throw out tweets that'll kind of pique the interest of his followers or get them worked up. I think Hyperloop was one of his tweets he did a while back when his stock was hurting. He does this kind of thing a lot. His self-charging, the snake that would plug itself into the car kind of thing. He tweeted that out once. He also did another one was he did some kind of I can't remember what it was. What would you call it? A keynote again, showing off a new style of battery replacement, a battery swap. For people that didn't have time to wait 30 minutes to charge their cars, they could do a battery swap in a matter of, I think he said 90 seconds each battery or something like that, or less than 90 seconds to swap. And he showed it working and everything, but nothing ever came of that. Nothing ever came of that snake-like thing that's going to plug into your car automatically. And a lot of stuff, it never comes to fruition. I'm not saying about the cars, but I'm saying he does tend, when his stock is hurting, when his company's hurting, he tends to do something, try to, make a lot of buzz in the media world because the media loves him, and he's a little darling to the media, and sure enough, it worked. His stock is starting to climb again. The reason why stock was falling is because they're worried that with this new tax bill they're trying to pass through Trump, that he's going to lose the tax. What is it called? What's it called? The tax right off the cap. You get $7,500 back from the government for purchasing a green energy car. They're trying to get rid of that, and it's affecting his company, and it's worrying Elon Musk. Don't worry, I'm getting to my point, guys. Hang in there. He's been getting support since he started that company. He's been getting a lot of help from the government and from American taxpayers since he started that company. And he's still not able to stand on his own two feet. His company still cannot handle itself by itself without some kind of help from the American taxpayers. I have a problem with that. I've always had. I had a problem with the bailouts in 2008 when they were too big to fail kind of thing with the Chrysler and these other guys. I had a problem with that. Pontiac, it disappeared. And I used to like Pontiac. GTO, one of my favorite cars. However, the company was making crap for a long time, and that's why they just let it go. And I think that was for the best. It's called capitalism for a reason. I mean, that is capitalism. Then you have crony capitalism. That would be what's going on with these green energy companies needing tax subsidies to keep themselves going. Solyndra, big example. And also Tesla and his solar power company, solar panel company as well. He needs to stand on his own 2 feet. If he can make a good product and put out a decent amount on time, he doesn't need, and also keep the price reasonable. He doesn't need anybody's help. He can do it on his own. I think he can. I think he can succeed if he gets away from the government. The government pulls away, and he has to stand on his own 2 feet. He will get creative. He will find a way, a better pricing probably on his cars, a better program to his charging to make it work, to make the cars more attractive to customers, and he'll sell better, and he'll do better, and his company will become profitable. Right now, they're just always minus. They're always minus. He's not a car guy. He's a tech guy. He's the guy that invented PayPal, and he's in a whole new territory, and he's learning slowly. But that's one of my points too. I started from my humble beginnings over here in a crap hole, without a door, with stray cats and rats running around the halls. Yeah, I had to work my way up. He started right from the top in the car company. And you've heard me talk about this in the past, Cadillac and even Lex, Toyota, all these other car companies, they worked their butts off and to get to a point where they could sell a high-end brand car with a name that meant something. He just comes out right away and puts out a really expensive car and says, "Look, I'm a high-end car," and it doesn't work that way. And so I really did enjoy his vehicles, and I'm really hoping for those trucks to take off. But it's going to all rely on it. There's too many variables. Those trucks are awesome. I think the stats are really cool, and I think long term the running costs will be cheaper. They'll actually work out cheaper than a diesel counterpart. That's cheaper to buy at the beginning. The problem is he needs a new infrastructure. Now he's talking about mega chargers, and he has to build a mega charger infrastructure. Without that infrastructure, nobody's going to buy the trucks. That's a given. And he was saying he's going to use solar panels to power those mega chargers, whatever they're called. That's not going to happen. His superchargers can't even, the solar panels that he has for his superchargers don't cover. That's a bunch of bull. The solar panel, you would need a solar farm that was so huge just to cover a couple chargers. It's not realistic. So I don't know what he's going to do for power consumption, for charges and rates and stuff. It's all kind of, he doesn't ever go into those kind of details when he does these kind of events. He didn't even go into the price of the truck. He just said long term it's going to be cheaper than the diesel counterpart. Same thing with the Roadster. We know the price on the Roadster is $50,000 down and $200,000 or $250,000, whatever, or $200,000 extra to buy the car. So once again, it's a 1%er car. It's an elitist car, almost like the Model X. Model X isn't really a 1%er, but it's a 10%er. You got to be in the top 10% of the income bracket in America to afford those cars. And he said, he made a little comment saying, I'm just doing this to prove to the world that electric cars are just as good as gasoline cars and they're even better, blah, blah, blah. And everybody's woo, cheering him on and everything. And it's like, that's a great argument if the car was comparable in price to a gasoline counterpart. He's showing a car that can go over 600 miles at highway speeds on one charge, can go 0 to 60 in less than 1.9 seconds, quarter mile in under 9 seconds, 8 point something seconds. I mean, these numbers are all great and handy dandy and everything, but once again, it's for the 1%ers. It's for the elites and the people that, the mass majority of people that want these cars. And the elites don't care about this crap. I've talked about this before. If you're super rich, gasoline prices don't bother you. You don't think about that. All you care about is what brand is going to be most attractive to people. Okay, that's the harsh reality. That's the truth. So the majority of people that want these electric cars for noise pollution factors or air pollution factors like me, we can't afford those cars that are really really close to the gasoline counterpart, but they're like twice as much. But I just feel like these little comments saying this is to show how these can be just as good as gasoline cars. They can be at a premium, but not for the masses. But I am excited about it. I do like the car. I think we live in a world of excess though, where somebody can. I saw these two YouTuber guys put a video up of putting money down, $50,000 down, or pre-ordering that Roadster, and they're just loving it. They're making a big deal. I think one of them was even drunk. And we live in such a world of excess. It's a great car. Don't get me wrong. It's a great car. It's an awesome car. It shows what electric cars are capable of doing. But at the same time, we live in a really messed up world where we've got people starving in our own streets in America. We got all kinds of problems. And somebody's making this kind of money can buy they call it a 4-passenger, but it's really a two-seater car for $250,000 that they're going to pull out just to show off to other people. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. It's a great car, but man, even if I had the money, I don't think I'd buy it. I don't. If I was a millionaire, I don't think I could live with myself. I couldn't look myself in the mirror putting that kind of money on a freaking automobile that loses its value every year. When there's people everywhere I look, there's people that could use help. And I just don't have the financial means to help everybody. I do what I can, but I just, I don't have it. I don't know. That's just something to think about. But I'm going on a different route. Everybody else has already talked about all the numbers, the stats, and how great the cars are, and the battery technology, what kind of battery packs and all stuff. You guys have already heard all that. I was just looking at a different angle, especially sitting out here, thinking about everything. I'm kind of in a dark place, I suppose. I think Elon would actually do a lot better. His company would do a lot better if he would break away and get away from the government subsidies and make it so he has to stand on his own 2 feet. If he had to stand on his own 2 feet, he would figure it out, sink or swim. That's what I had to do, and I got to where I am now because of that. And I'm thankful for the opportunity. I had to get away from my family over in Washington. If I stayed where I was, I'd be still at the same job. Or worse, maybe, at this age, maybe I wouldn't be working in sales anymore. I'd be doing something even... Before I got the job at Circuit City, I was working seafood. I was a journeyman in the seafood department. Then I became journeyman in a different union, Teamsters union for the produce department. And they fired me because I was on a forklift because I worked the night shift. I worked between 11 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock in the morning. and I had to break down the loads that came out on the trucks, and they were really heavy loads, and they stacked them 5 pallets high usually. In my back, I hurt my back pretty bad one night, and after that I started using the forklift, and it was fine at first. But then in a different location, different store, different location, somebody had an accident with a forklift, hit a customer, and they banned all people except for night crew, except for the stalkers. They banned us from using the forklift. The ironic thing was it was a night crew person that hit the customer. It was the distinct people that were never banned from the forklift. They were the ones that hit the guy. But anyways, and I refused to do it. My back was in really bad shape. I was only 22 years old at the time. I'm like, this is BS. I was stuck in bed for 2 days straight one week, and I couldn't move. I had to crawl to the restroom. I mean, I was in bad shape. I was like, I'm too young for this kind of crap. I'm not gonna break this thing down by hand. This 5 pallet high pallet of produce, which is very heavy. Those boxes are heavy. And so I got on the forklift and did it, and I got caught and I got fired. And then for a while there, I was the best I could find for work was night crew. Not night crew. I mean maintenance. Basically sweeping and waxing the floors in the grocery stores and stuff like that. That was my low point in my life, and I don't know. I got the job at Circuit City, and I really enjoyed working there and stuff. But it's, commission's a really hard job in America, and the trick they knew when I was working there, the big trick they would do was they would buy a whole bunch of stuff for me, and I get a really good commission the next month. But the problem was they would return the stuff. So then the following month after that, they would subtract that commission back out. So I would be in really bad shape financially. It was a real mess, and it was not it was fun working the place, but it wasn't fun trying to live off of it. Commission is not a fun job, especially in home electronics and things like that. People are kind of scummy. They buy stuff for they'll buy big screen TVs and stuff for Super Bowls, and they'll return them afterwards and stuff, because the return policies are ridiculously too good in America. And so it really is hard on people that live off of commission. I came over here and I worked my way up because I had to stand on my own 2 feet. It forced me to work my way up. That's why I didn't want to stay over there. That's why I wanted to come over here. If I stayed over there, I would have listened to all the negativity. I would have gone along with the negativity. I would have been where I was 20 years ago. I would probably still be there now. But I forced myself over here, and I forced myself to stand on my 2 feet, and I got myself in a really good position where I own my own school now. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy working with the kids. I really enjoy my life. I enjoy the fact that I get to be home with my kids because I own my own school. My school is inside my house on the first floor. It's all schoolroom. And the second and third floor is living quarters. And I get to be with my kids all the time. And I love that. I love that. And God's blessed me with the ability to be able to do that. And so, yeah, So there was a reason for it when I was over here checking out the place I stay at, and I was thinking about, you know what? I know Elon is really worried, and all the stockholders are really worried about losing that government subsidy that people get for buying their cars and stuff. But I think it'll be okay. I think it will. They're gonna have to make some changes with their pricing and with their whole policies in a lot of ways. But if they do it right, they'll be fine. I feel like it's a good car to a point. To a point. That's a different story. That's a story for a different day. Talking about quality control of the Model S and the Model X. But yeah, that's for another day. Now let's get into the battery gate. My last video I made, I was talking about when I charged it up from 4%, got to 50 something percent, the battery temperature went from quarter to 3/4 temp on one charge, and I only got up a little bit past halfway, and now I said that was disconcerting. Well, then I had one of my I don't know if he's a subscriber, but somebody watched my video. He lives over here. He found an article off of a Japanese EV club site, sent me the article. I read it, and I got confirmation from another guy that took the brand new Leaf on a drive where he drove 80 kilometers an hour nonstop, using ProPilot nonstop, and he was complaining about the same thing. When he charged the car, every time he charged it, the temperature would go up, and it slowed the charge time down more and more and more each time as the battery got warmer and warmer. I don't know. That's two people now, me and the other guy. We could have a battery gate. I don't know. It's something to think about, guys. It's something to think about. And if you haven't picked up your cars yet, you might want to go to the dealer and talk to them about that. You know, I don't know what to say. I think it's a great car. It'll be great for most everyday purposes, but the days you want to take it on a long trip, you should be able to count on it. You should be able to count on it not giving you trouble, you're not having to wait an extra hour for the battery to cool down a little bit so you can charge more and stuff. It should work the way it's supposed to. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just giving you a heads up. We might have something like what Apple gets once in a while with their gates, with their phones. Might have a battery gate with a Leaf. I think it's because they double density that battery, and I thought they were clever engineers. I thought they worked out a better air cooling system when the car is moving on the battery since it's double density. It doesn't look like they've changed that. The cooling's the same as the previous model Leaf, but now we have double density battery. It takes longer for it to cool down once it warms up and things like that, so it just it's compounding. It's not thermal runaway, but it does get really hot, and it stays hot. It looks like. Leave your comments down below about that, what you think about the battery gate. Is it something to worry about, or is it not a big deal to you? All right. Sorry for being a little dark. I just wanted to get this off my chest. I don't talk about my father much because he watches my videos, and he might even watch this one, but he doesn't like me talking about him, I'm sure. I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss my father. I'll talk more some other time. And this video's gone long enough. But I'm gonna miss you, Dad, and I'll see you soon. Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you liked what you saw. Alright, guys, bye.